How do you do it? Like this? Anyways, hello everyone. This is Fabriello and welcome back to a new video. More specifically, a video response to Femtrooper, since she started a very nice trend lately on the YouTube sphere that I followed. After she has done a very cool video on games she has dropped. Following that, I saw responses from Steven, the Lucky Gamer, although Stevo Supremo now, Alex, Return to Mother Base, Bobby, Manboy Cave. I'm very curious to see Emperor's Fox response to Alex whenever he'll do it, because it's a very interesting topic. It's something that we all have done throughout our, let's call it, career as gamers. Like, we have dropped games. It's not that we have a 100% completion ratio with our games. For me, at least, it was in a way that when I was younger, like when I was a kid more specifically, I dropped games all the time, primarily because I jumped from one game to the other. It was rare for me to finish a game. In fact, I remember one of the few times that happened, say, during the NES days for me, was when I finished Mega Man 3. It was like the first Mega Man game I played, and back then I was obsessed with that series. And it was a huge deal. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it, I finished a game. Because it didn't happen very often, as I said. Either after a while I didn't know what to do in order to finish a game, because, again, we didn't have the internet, so we didn't have like YouTube playthrough and stuff like that. So once you were stuck, you were stuck. Maybe you'll find a way to pass through an obstacle or something, or that was it. Lately, I would say it's very rare for me to drop a game, primarily because I'm very picky with the games I buy and therefore play. So I'll try not to drop a game, but it might happen, of course. It's not that I'm 100% certain with a game. There's always that small element of uncertainty, because maybe a game potentially looks appealing, but then might be a disappointment. Who knows? Anyways, wait a second, my dog is calling me. So sorry about that. So as I said, it might happen that I drop a game even now or recently, and for this reason I've picked up 5 games from different generations. I am not going to back to the past, say there's no NES or Super Nintendo games, but a bit of everything. And let's start with the first one. That it's funny that every time I think of games that I've dropped, this is the one that pops into my mind, because I was almost relieved to drop this game, because there was a lot of hype with this among my friends and people I follow on YouTube. This is a very beloved game, which has a rather strong cult following. So I was kind of curious and say, well, it has worked for other games, so why not this one? And oh boy, it did not work. I did not like this game and dropped it rather quickly, to say, and that is Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Who the fuck cares? Yeah, as you can say, I don't like this game at all. Primarily because this is the first game in a long time, probably since the NES days, that has made me rage quit. I was sick and tired of this game from its first boss, basically, primarily because, to me, the game controls and combat system are absolute garbage. Like, I was curious because it looked like a lot of fun, like a very over-the-top game. I think, was it Platinum also involved with this? Yes, Platinum was involved with this, and I like Platinum games. So I was kind of hyped because in a way, like maybe it would be my way to get back into the Metal Gear Solid series, which is something that I haven't touched since the PS1 games. Then I play the game and the first 10, 15 minutes or something are fun. You go around slicing up like grunts or something. But then I met the first boss of the game. It was like a robotic dog or something, and it kicked my ass relentlessly. Something like I died 30, 50 times in a row. I couldn't do anything. And I was getting furious, but not the good way. Like, for example, when I played Bloodborne, there were bosses that kicked my ass, but every time I faced them, I learned something new. And eventually I beat them and had the great sense of accomplishment that those games carry with them. It's not here. Sometimes I did pretty well. Other times it kills me in 2 seconds. Every time I have to do a section of the stage, I was getting so angry with this game. I was like, you know what? I don't have time to waste. Fuck you, game. I'll play something better. And dropped it. I've never touched it since. And it's one of the most disappointing, overrated, whatever games you can think of to me. Maybe one day I'll play it again. I highly, highly doubt it though, because again, I don't have time to waste. So I, as I said, dropped it very early, primarily because to me, maybe say it was too difficult, or in my case, I didn't like the controls. So yeah, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, absolutely the first game on this list, and to me, the symbol of games I have dropped, because this was a debacle to me. Ugh, just thinking about it made me mad. The next one, we're going to move on the Vita, and this is one of those instances of a game that you actually enjoyed, but then it gives you a big middle finger after a long period of time that you've played it, and I was kind of forced to drop it because I say, you cannot do this to me after I spent more than 60 hours on it. Like I was enjoying everything, but then you like offer me such a massive difficulty spike that I don't have time for that. And that is on the PS Vita. So yeah, let's give the Vita some love here. We have Exist Archive by Tri-Ace. The thing that drives me crazy with this game is that I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I like the format, this sort of like Metroidvania RPG thing. The combat system is really fun. I really love this, the gameplay from this game throughout, both as I say, within and without combat. The story was interesting, nothing mind-blowing, but I was enjoying it. I liked the characters, or at least some of the characters, for what I can remember. So overall, it was a good game. I was having a good time. And as I say, I particularly loved the combat system, but all of a sudden, I was pretty sure that I was getting close to the end, because again, I spent something like between 60 65 hours or something like that. I was pretty sure that the end was coming. In fact, I faced what I think was the final boss, or at least the first time you face the final boss. Maybe, I have no idea. And that's when the game threw a giant difficulty spikes. Like in 3 seconds, basically. Like in one turn, the boss obliterated my party. And I was like, oh, okay. Because at first I thought it was one of those instances in which you have to lose the battle to trigger a cutscene or something. Sometimes JRPGs do that. But no, there was the game over screen. So I was like, oh, okay, I have to beat this boss. Because I also noticed, like, during my turn, my damage to the boss was next to nothing. And while on the other hand, she killed every single party member in one touch, basically. So it was really bizarre by that point. It was like, what am I doing wrong? but again, at that point, I was so ready to drop the game in a sense, like I need to finish it because I want to move to something else. I'm kind of I enjoyed it, but I'm getting sick of this because it's overstaying its welcome. So it's one of those, to me, missed opportunity, because this could have been a good game with some extra touches, I think. And one thing that certainly didn't help its cause was the difficulty spike. That made me roll my eyes and say, okay, I got what I wanted out of this game. Even if I haven't finished it, I don't care at this point. So yeah, Exist Archive, a good RPG on the Vita, but I'm pretty sure it's also on the PS4 or whatever. But could have been better. Especially, don't put difficulty spikes out of nowhere, especially by the end of the game, because I can understand at the beginning there might be a big obstacle. Like I remember when I played a Dragon Age Inquisition, at the beginning it's kind of the hardest part of the game because you have to learn the mechanics. Enemies are very strong. It's not uncommon that a bear will annihilate you. So, but you learn combat, you learn how to level up, etc. And even though there is a bit of a entry bar, it's not unsurmountable. In here, like the game is fine, but all of a sudden it gets impossible. It was like, maybe I was massively under-leveled. It's a possibility, but how should I know? It's funny that a game that kind of offered me a similar situation, technically last year, was Mato Anomalies. Like sometimes that game throws quite the difficulty spikes at you, but I kind of persevered. Especially by the final boss, I realized I was massively underleveled, even though, again, there were no indications, because up until then I was doing fine. But then I grind, and it took me maybe an hour, and I leveled like 40 levels or something ridiculous, and I had stomped the boss. So, I don't know. Sometimes the game, these kind of game mechanics are indication these are not exactly perfect games, but I don't know. I was really upset with dropping Exist Archive because I'm a big Tri-Ace fan, and I love the combat system. So I was annoyed. Because in general, especially now, I don't like dropping games. Now, here we go. This is the interesting one because I'm giving you 2 per 1, basically. Let's talk about the Tales of series, because I'm a big fan of that series. I love Tales game. However, there's a caveat there, and that is the fact that I absolutely despise early Tales games. To me, the series got good once it entered the 3rd dimension, basically. The earlier games, like Tales of Fantasia or Tales of Eternia, are not that good. I mean, Eternia, it's not bad, actually. I enjoyed what I played out of it, but at one point I got completely lost in a dungeon. I have no idea what I was supposed to be doing, therefore I dropped it. But even by that point, I did not like the combat system, which is a problem with the early Tales games. And the best indication to me, it's Fantasia, which is the first game in the series. I really didn't like it because early Tales games are very clunky, very stiff, and the combat is just unpleasant. Like, I don't like fighting in these games, while on the contrary, with more modern Tales games, combat is almost the best part of the game. Say, the first game I played in the series, which is the one that hooked me to the series, was Tales of the Abyss. I liked the story, I liked the characters, I liked the combat system, everything was fine. Then I said, okay, I need more Tales games now. And back then I was still living in London, so I only had handheld consoles with me. And Tales, it's not the best series in terms of like entries in portable consoles. There were some, like Tales of Hearts R, really good game, arguably even better than Abyss, even though Abyss has some better characters and story moments to me. But I had a ton of fun. Then I had to explore the early titles, and I thought, let's start from the beginning. Let's play Fantasia. Big mistake. In fact, I think I played half of the game, but at that point it was like, I'm sick and tired of this game. You might argue that the GBA version is notoriously bad as a port, but this is the only one that was available to me, so not much my fault there. And as I said, Eternia, it's not that bad. It's slightly better than Fantasia combat-wise, because that's the problem. Story-wise, they're fine. Like, Fantasia is very by-the-book, or mid-90s JRPG, so nothing spectacular, but it's fine. Eternia, it's a bit more interesting as a story and characters. I especially like the two worlds with the different languages, etc. But the combat, I really don't like it. As I say, Tales need the third dimension. In fact, since Abyss and forward to me, I seem to play some of the like Symphonia and those early 3D, semi-3D Tales games, but other than these two, I enjoyed all the rest of the series. This next one, just looking at it, it's painful to think that I dropped this. Because to quote Femtrooper, in a sense, there's nothing worse than dropping a game that you are greatly enjoying. And that was the case with this. I love this game, and I am so annoyed that I have to drop it. And that is Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivors 2 on it. Hello. There's my dog saying hello again. So I was saying, SMT Devil Survivors 2 on the Nintendo DS. And the interesting part is, this is kind of the game that soured SMT to me for a while. So both SMT proper and Persona games. I didn't play them for a while because of this. Now I realize what my problem with this game was, and with the series in general. And because I've tried again on a different time period, like I actually now greatly enjoy the series. I think it's fantastic. I played almost every single Persona game that I've got, and I need to get more into the proper SMT games. Devil Survivors 2. I say, the thing is, I played most of this. I reached the second to last boss in the game. But that's when I stopped, because the game got... I'm saying the game got brutally difficult. But the issue is that I made the game harder on myself, because I didn't understand the concept of using demons. Not the concept per se, like I knew how to do it, of course, but I didn't like the fact that I felt it was forced on me. It's like, no, you have to fuse demons. Like, no, I don't want to. I like this demon, I build it fine, and I'll just grind it. That's not the way you're supposed to play these games. I mean, you can, but it gets harder. So I reached the final boss, the second to last boss, I mean. But for the most part, I only had mid-tier demons, which I kind of forced them to grind. But by that point of the game, where they were obviously obsoleted, they were considerably weaker in terms of stats. Therefore, like, the enemy were just stomping me. Like, I only had a couple of characters with updated demons, and they were doing fine. So I dropped this game that I really enjoyed in terms of story and characters, music, everything that I care about, because I misunderstood a very key mechanics of this game. In fact, this is one of the games I want to replay the most, and eventually I will make a video about it, like games that I want to replay. Will probably be on the top of the list. Now that I've replayed all Mass Effect, I've always wanted to replay this, because I'm sure now with my appreciation of SMT and Persona, I understand how the game properly works, and I'm sure I will be able to fully enjoy it, because I already did in a way. I just need to finish it. But I want to re-experience it, because I love the idea of a strategy SMT game. that's just great. I want more of it. So yeah, it's a shame that I had to drop it, but unfortunately, Devil Survivor 2 was it's on this list. And the final one, it's arguably the biggest one because, again, you know me, I'm a big JRPG fan. Those are my games, as I've showed in this list. We're just talking about JRPGs here, with the exception of Metal Gear. But this is from the golden age, let's say, of JRPGs. It's from the golden age of Square Enix, or well, back then Squaresoft. So it's a PS1 game. And back then, that's when I fell in love with JRPG. So basically, it was like in almost every JRPG you threw at me, it was like, oh, this is the greatest ever. This is the best. This is the best. This is the first roadblock there to me. It was like, oh, this is not very good. And this might be a bit of a surprise, but not necessarily, because this game has its strong fan base, but also plenty of people who didn't like it. And that is Final Fantasy VIII. I have dropped this game 4 times. So I did try 2 or 3 times on the PS1 and another time on the PS Vita. I even downloaded a digital copy of this game because I think that the first disc it doesn't work, or I have no idea. But yeah, I could not get into this game. Every single time I kind of drop it, lose interest in it, and then drop it at the same time. Basically, halfway through disc 2 or by the end of disc 2, something like that. It's like, I don't care about this because I don't care about the characters, I don't care about the story, which, yeah, that's a big problem for a JRPG. But especially, I really didn't like the junction system. That might be, I don't want to say controversial, because Final Fantasy always tried to introduce new combat system with each entries. And the thing is, I was a big fan of the materia system from Final Fantasy VII, which, parenthesis, is the only one of the few good things about that game, because I wasn't big of a fan of Final Fantasy VII as well, as you know. But regardless of that, I actually pushed through and finished that game, even though I did not enjoy myself, especially, I liked the first half of it, then I remembered not caring about the next 60% of the game or something like that. Once I finished, yeah, good for us, who the fuck cares, let's move to something better. So I really didn't like Final Fantasy VII that much, but one thing that I enjoyed a lot was the combat system. I really liked it. It was fast-paced. I liked the idea of the materia system, which wasn't that different, from the Espers from Final Fantasy VI, although that is much better, of course, as an overall experience. But with 8, the junction system was so weird to me the first time I tried. Once I replayed the game on the beat, I was like, okay, now I'm going to pay attention and need to understand how this stupid combat system works. But again, after 2 hours, I was like, I don't care. So yeah, I really didn't care about Final Fantasy VIII. As I said, I tried multiple times, but it's just not interesting. At least the thing about Final Fantasy VII is that the beginning captured me because I really like the whole section in Midgar. So I could easily replay that. That's the only thing that is tempting about the remake of Final Fantasy VII is that it's the first game, at least, it's entirely focused on Midgard. And it's like, that would be cool. But then I say, but I have to replay Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not too keen on that idea. But regardless, yeah, this is arguably the games I have dropped the most in my life, because I really tried. I really tried to like this game. It's just not interesting, and it can happen, Then I played Final Fantasy IX and absolutely loved it. So it's just sometimes a story or a cast of characters simply don't click with us. And to me, especially in the JRPG, if the characters and the story don't work, it would be very, very hard for me to care about this game. And Final Fantasy VIII, it's kind of the best example of that. So there you go. These were 5+1 games that I have dropped throughout gaming generations. Definitely check Femtrooper, Steve, Alex, and Manboy Cave videos. I'll put all of them in the description below, so you can check all of that. You can check them out, and definitely take part to this sort of video response galore. What are some games that you have dropped throughout the years? Definitely make your list and keep the discussion going. So this is it for me, guys. It's been fun, it's been real like always, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.